The most important thing they can do is make permanent the president's tax cuts. If they don't do that, that'll be the largest tax increase in American history. That's project one. To me, if this endangers that, that makes me nervous for the president's overall agenda.
In this video, we join Scott Jennings and The View's Anna Navarro on the panel of CNN's Newsnight. Scott Jennings discusses the possibility that Trump cuts taxes on high earners, and Anna Navarro chimes in to tell us how bad she thinks Trump is. Shocker. With that, let's watch Scott Jennings destroy The View's Anna Navarro.
Are you cool with it?
Makes me nervous because this is the core DNA of the Republican Party, not to raise income taxes of any kind. That's number one. Number two, I can understand the political impulse, because if you do it, it takes off the table the Democratic attacks. Oh, you're just cutting taxes for the wealthy.
They would throw parties for him, probably, because this is what they've wanted.
Number three, what I worry about tactically is that it will probably split the Republicans in the House and the Senate. You may have some that go with him and some that don't. And it's already a fraught enough process to get reconciliation done that this could be a wrinkle. The most important thing they can do is make permanent the president's tax cuts. If they don't do that, that'll be the largest tax increase in American history. That's project one. To me, if this endangers that, that makes me nervous for the president's overall agenda.
I think one of the reasons, though, that we're even talking about this is because somewhere, somehow in the White House, they're realizing that the math isn't mathing, that they're going to have to figure out how to make all of these promises work. And it's going to cost a lot of money. And the tariffs are not sustainable to, quote unquote, pay for it, which is questionable whether they would in the first place.
Well, not only are the tariffs not sustainable, but the deals will not be done fast enough. So if you look at the three different ways that the Treasury Secretary has talked about raising money, right? He has said it would be a combination of DOGE, things around efficiency, IRS, et cetera, tech, right? We've talked a lot about that. The trade deals, but the trade deals are going to take time, right? Most of those trade deals will not be done until the end of the year. And so now what you have to ask yourself is, where can we raise the funds? Now, this is only going to be about $68 billion over the next 10 years, so it's not going to be the fix.
You mean raising the taxes?
Raising the taxes on the rich from 37 up to 39.6, I think it is, if you're making
just
$2.5 million
round it up to 40, it sounds better.
It rounded off, yeah.
But I mean, this is why, look, for so long, Republicans have said no raising taxes on anybody because nobody should be paying more taxes. Democrats, they historically have set that number at $400,000 or something around that number, because there's a lot of support for that. 58% say that people making over $400,000 should have their taxes go up. So, Ben, are you ready? Are you ready to do it?
Number one, this is not going to happen. Two, I think this is probably some art of the deal and some trolling from Trump, where he's like, all right, let's throw this on the table and watch what happens. But the third thing is, go back to the tariffs. They will absolutely be done by the end of the year.
Talking about the tariffs, just a couple hours ago, I saw that Scott Bessent said they'd come to an agreement with China. So that's phenomenal news. Scott Bessent and the other gentleman who spoke on behalf of the United States both had glowing things to say about the Chinese, about the deal, and about the Swiss for hosting them. So if you've watched this show at all on CNN, all they do is complain about Trump's tariffs and there's no deals, there's no deals. Now we got UK done, a phenomenal deal for the United States, and we still haven't heard the details, but the fact that we got a deal done with China is really exciting, I think, because the mainstream liberal media is going to have to change their narrative to why can't Trump get deals done, to now trying to poke holes in the deals he is getting done. So it's always fun watching liberals scramble. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
The big ones, the most important ones, they're going to be done by the end of the year, and probably long before the end of the year. So this idea that like the math doesn't add up and we got a big problem here, it's a little rich. Hold on. It's a little rich.
We just don't know how much we're going to take in.
It's a little rich from people that have had no problem with a massive, trillion-dollar deficit to say, oh, now we got to raise taxes 2% on the rich, or we're going to run out of money.
Because trade deficits are not what the president says that they are.
And I think
you know that.
No, but they're going to get done soon.
Here's the thing, Ben. Hold on a second, Anna. Let me follow your logic just for a second here. The trade deals get done. Let's say that they get done. Presumptively, the goal of the trade deals is to lower the tariff rate. So that actually should reduce how much money is coming in to the Treasury coffers. So how does that help Trump, balance this budget?
I think there's two things. Number one, the Trump tax cuts is what he cares about the most. Two, he cares about getting a better deal for the U.S. and exports and new jobs.
Sure,
if you have more Americans that are hired because you have more manufacturing, because you have trade deals that are actually helping American workers, they pay taxes
before the end of the calendar year.
Taxes. They
I think
pay
that's
a
the
ton
part
of
that people are
taxes.
skeptical
So if
about.
Americans make more money in manufacturing, and that's what the president said. We need better jobs. We need to stop exporting jobs. We need to have more manufacturing in the U.S. You're going to have a lot of taxes that are going to be paid. And if you have money that's actually coming in from tariffs, as we change some of these, which there is more money coming in now, I think there'll be more money than over last year when this is all said and done as well. You have a better plan for this country from the president. So I don't think this is some crazy idea. And again, the idea that somehow now there's a massive crisis over this and he's got to raise tax on the rich. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm not
no. Here's
buying
the
it.
reason that he's considering raising taxes on the rich is that he wants to extend his tax cuts. Yes,
But I mean-
he
But
also
he
wants no
also, I think
taxes
it's
on
trolling
debt.
Democrats.
He also wants no taxes on
let me
Social
say a
Security. He
couple
also
of-
wants no taxes
This
on
isn't a
overtime.
troll.
Okay, let me say a couple.
He's
of
made a
things.
lot of promises.
I'll see this tax increase on people making over $2.5 million. I will believe it when I see it because I think there is a reason why the wealthiest men in the world were all standing there at his swearing in, and there is a reason why all of these crypto grifters are giving him all of the money that they're giving him at these fundraisers. I really have an issue when you and
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
you know, and I've heard a lot of people talk about short-term pain and it'll be done by the end of the year. The thing is, there are a lot of people in America who make a lot less money than us sitting around this table who don't have until the end of the year to endure short-term pain, who can't pay for their groceries today.
And I understand
so
that
for
point,
whom
but I would
those
say
tariffs
you go back to
are
Americans that lost their
life-changing.
jobs. You go back to Americans that lost their jobs in manufacturing in towns that disappeared and tell them that their long-term pain of losing an entire industry and their family and
I
something they
think-
built.
can I
was
how do
like,
you-
oh,
how do you
look,
tell-
look, that-
Can I jump
How do
in
you
here?
tell them?
Let me
How do you
just-
tell
let me
them
just-
that when they
let me
can't pay
just-
for the
Let me let Bakari
let me
get
jump
it
in
right.
here.
doll for their kid? How do you tell them that when they can't pay for their groceries this week?
Let me-
I think
Hey,
hold
guys.
on, Ben. Bakari.
Listen, or me and Scott, we'll just have our own little show. Listen, what I want to, I think you're betting on some level of consistency, Ben. And I think you're betting on some level of actual policy. And what the president hasn't done is laid out any of that. When we're talking about tariffs, the first deal that was cut with the major country is who? The UK.
Yeah. And he said who came first gets the best deal.
We have a $12 billion surplus with them. It does absolutely nothing to our bottom line. It doesn't help us pay for those things.
That's totally
That's
not
not
true.
true. Yeah,
That
that's
is
not true.
completely a lie.
Cattle
Like
range
McCoy, that's just
Exactly.
wrong. That's totally wrong.
There's
We
a
couldn't
couple-
get our beef into the UK.
One second.
There's
Hold
a
on,
couple
let me
of
let
reasons
Alexis
why that's
answer.
wrong.
Educate.
You're right about the $12 billion surplus, right? If you look at them, and they're the sixth
The goal of the tariffs isn't necessarily to remove or lower them. I think with China, we probably ended up lowering them, but both countries still may have tariffs in place. I don't know, but use UK, for example. We came out of that deal with a 10% tariff on UK goods, and they got, I think, a 1.8% on ours. So it is to generate income. It is a negotiating tool. It can be multiple things at once. We've already, since Donald Trump enacted his tariffs, taken in $20 billion in tariffs. And Anna's point is stupid. Any economic pain will always be felt by the lowest on the socioeconomic scale. No one wants that, but real Americans understand that accepting some short-term pain for long-term prosperity is a big deal. And if you think about your kids and think about the future, if you think about your future, you understand what Donald Trump's trying to do. And then the thing that Bakari Sellers said, he's like, this UK deal doesn't affect our bottom line at all. What are you talking about? We came out of it with 10% tariffs on the UK and 1.8% tariffs on us. That doesn't affect our bottom line. That's a lot of revenue coming in on tariffs. So, I don't need to tell you this, but it's obvious these people just have an agenda against Trump. And no matter what he does, even if he did raise taxes on the wealthy, which I don't think he will, and Scott's right, we need to get those tax cuts through Congress. They said the Democrats would throw a party. No, they wouldn't. They'd find something to complain about. It's been 10 years of this. Donald Trump can't do anything right for Democrats. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
sixth largest economy in the world, right? They are not one of our top 3 trading partners. I get it. We're all focused on Canada, Mexico, and China, although I do think we'll have a deal with India and Japan very soon.
Yes.
Number one, I think it's critically important they got this deal done before they meet with China this weekend.
Set a precedent.
Set a precedent, number one. Number two, if you look at autos, steel, aluminum, that was a big part of this deal. And so if you look at what the automakers did is they suspended guidance a week ago because they couldn't forward forecast their performance.
The consistency, they had none of
A key
correct.
piece of this was the autos, the aluminum, and the steel, and the other part was agriculture. That is a big part
Massive.
of the president's agenda. The heartland. How do we protect the cattle ranchers, the
We
dairy
couldn't ship to
farmers,
the
et
UK.
cetera?
It was unfair.
And the whole issue with this idea of taxing the wealthy is that he needs to get back to the idea of the levies on tips, the idea of removing taxes on Social Security. He's got to get back and figure out the small business owner. What are we doing to help the mainland?
I think Donald Trump and all the Americans that voted for him have a lot, and the American people in general, even the folks who didn't vote for him, have a lot of winning ahead of us. I think it's a really exciting time, and we should all be optimistic. But we want to hear from you. Do you guys think Donald Trump's going to raise taxes on the wealthy? I don't, considering a big part of his tax cuts are trying to make permanent, reduce taxes on everyone. So I don't see it happening. But do you think it's going to happen? And are you optimistic about the trade deals that have gotten done? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.